Welcome to Stable Roots. This is my weekly collection of writing that is a voiceover that comes from my Substack. The title this week is Art Supplies, or How I Can Draw Trees and Mountains. And that's about it, but it doesn't keep me from trying. I bring you a series of tiny gifts this week. If they were packets of seeds, these words would be trying to turn into fragile sprouts. They'd need just the right conditions to thrive. My brain is overly wintered, and these snapshots started as a way of giving myself permission to not form a lengthy, extended thought. A vacation from my usual long-form essays as we near the anniversary of a year of me posting weekly words for you to read here on Substack. I kept my notebook near me this week, and I figured that I would collect impressions of things, a few paragraphs of images I saw or thought about or dreamed. But like most writing and life, my intentions led the way to something else entirely. What I bring you this week is a series of prose poems. Poems and I go way back. Poems paid my way through college and gave me a canvas to paint on when I, despite all my better efforts, couldn't varnish the shape of my feelings with a brush. I studied visual art because I'm a sucker for symbols and metaphors. Poems, to me, are tiny paintings made into words. You see them in your head and they echo with a resonance that pulses through your chest. When given a literal blank page to draw on, I sketch trees, mountains, and vines. I've been doing this since I was a kid, and the simplicity of these doodles hasn't changed much over time. Christopher is the visual artist in our house. That's how I introduce him, as if we only get one title for artistic license and aren't allowed to tinker with all the things. Somewhere along the way, I created a rule in my life that words and images couldn't mix. Like when I inhaled a puff of Flagyl while treating the pony's feet this week and had to do a solid Google search to see if it was safe to drink a glass of wine afterwards. I have so many rules for myself, some arbitrary, some logical, but I'm ready to toss the bylaws I've drafted for artistic incorporation out the proverbial stained glass window. I crept into the art supply aisle when Christopher and I were out shopping this weekend, and I selected a sketchbook and pencils, and I felt like I was shopping for someone else, like I didn't belong there, which was all the more reason to drench myself in the glory of it. Prose poems and flash essays are my writerly equivalent of sketching, a way for me to catch a scene or an image through impressions. They help me condense my thoughts and sink into the richness of details. I'm sharing a few with you this week. They all began as separate thoughts, but started weaving together. They're messy and unpolished, like me, or the me that has my vote if I were given a seat to fill on a committee. My intentions for this new year are all about rediscovering art and awe. I invite you to see what corner these elusive creatures are napping in your own life, and I hope you wake them up gently and share your findings with me. They can be messy and unpolished and incomplete. They can be the incarnation of permission. I'm giving you free rein to do whatever the hell you want. You can draw crudely and still be sketching. You can write essentially and still be telling stories. You can move your body to music that only you can hear. Let's get started. 1. The Rapture. The fallen tree is a trident split from the same source, a trinity of white oak. Its bark smooth with pressed ridges, a fingernail on the hand of the earth. We thought about getting married beside this tree, but moved the ceremony to the path in the woods where 3 trails converged into an asymmetry of crossings. Most of these things come in threes. The multi-forked white oak was the first tree we noted on the ground when we emerged from the thick sound of the generator to take stock after the storm. I smelled gas and the wet ache of chewed wood, and I remembered how my thoughts caught when I was a kid pondering eternity, how I could reach the end of understanding, a flat earth knowledge, a line on the map warning, "Here be dragons." It took days to saw the length of the triple oak so trucks could pass to the hay sheds. My shoes didn't make an imprint on the wet sawdust that covered the ground. How could I possibly make a mark in something as large as this storm? I sit on an overturned log and watch the sky move, blue and limitless. And I remember how scared I was when I was a kid and thought that the rapture would happen and I would be left here alone. But as I sit on this log and gaze at the overturned roots of this storm-toppled oak, I uncover a fear greater than losing my chance at the second coming. What if I'm not left alone here in these woods and dirt and trees? What if I'm taken up into the sky? Without wings, can I make my way upward? 2. We fly. The vultures play in the high wind gust above the barn as a cold front presses down on the mountains like an oppressive relative. I keep losing my trail of thought as I announce their presence. Look at that big black bird. There's another one. That one's bigger. Wait, that's an airplane. We're on the flight path of the airport. On clear days, I hear the engines revving for takeoff or the windbreak of a landing. As the planes pass over the barn, I announce their presence, and I wonder where they're going. I wonder if someone up there is grieving or if someone up there is happy, as if I can help them, as if I can lessen their losses and laugh at their jokes. As the vultures glide in the storm front, some alone, some together, the idea of flight stuns me like a newborn thought, a revelation. We move through the air. The buzzards seek down, I seek up, and somewhere in the icy currents above the treetops, our thoughts occasionally meet. 3. Torpor. The trees and I have an ongoing conversation, but the winter wind where the vultures swooped rattles the bedroom windows. We gather the dog and move to the center of the house where we can rest with a buffer of attic above us. And I remember how a decade ago someone called when I was away from the farm to say the big white oak behind the bedroom window was filled with sleeping vultures. Birds rest in a torpor, their heart rate and breathing slowed, and the grace of the vulture's flight becomes clumsy when grounded, a plop into gravity shaken off as they hop back onto a branch. The trees support their bumbling as they dream. And I, a featherless carnivore, rest my heaviness into the blankets as the winter wind crashes through the eaves and the trees keep watch. 4. 12th Night. I bought star cards in a museum shop, a heavy deck of perforated cardboard punched into the shape of the constellations. I could never line them up. I bought a telescope, a lens to the heavens, so I could watch the night sky close. But like most complex games with rules, I started playing and subsequently gave up. I bought an app to locate comets on my phone, but I fixated on how the sun was underground, beneath me, and I forgot to look up. On a blanket where the water met the earth, I lay there with you and didn't have to journey with my eyes to see the holy weave of the inky, jeweled blanket that mantles our lives. The stars and the planets and the comets meet us with their frequencies like traveling kings bearing gifts for a story that is written before our eyes. Thank you for joining me through the journey of these 4 little prose poems. Next week, Christopher and I drive to Nashville, Tennessee to pick up Gideon, our new farm creative director, muse, and vagal nerve balancers with his purrs. Gideon is a Siberian Forest Cat, and I'll probably just be writing about him for the next 10 years. Siberians are native to Russia, like Maine Coons are native to the U.S., but Siberians are hypoallergenic. I was hesitant to add a house cat to our crew of hard-working barn cats because I'm terribly allergic to cats. This hasn't stopped me before. I'm also allergic to horses, hay, trees, and dogs. A snowstorm is headed our way, and so many of you have already experienced blizzard conditions and windstorms and fire this year. There's so much happening in the world. I don't have an answer or an antidote to the madness, but I'm beside you as we bear witness to the whispers and the screams of the natural world. Tell me about the awe you found this week. Tell me about the art you've uncovered. Let's bear witness to each other's stories. Love, Kim.